Welcome to the Parish the Thought Show. The opinions of Brian, your host, and his guests have not been sanitized or scientifically tested, so please consume at your own risk. Now, here's Brian.
A couple of months back, I was having a chat with a coworker, Quintin, bantering back and forth about hobbies and the miscellaneous things of life that make it fun. Come to find out, he is a sports card collector and trader. And my dear friends, this is a world I knew nothing about. And his level of knowledge astounded me. And did you know, these cards can cost as much as a sports car? Yeah, you heard that right. Give it a listen. It'll blow your mind. All right, Quintin. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining me today.
Yes.
And you're here today because we had a chat several months back about
sports cards.
Sports cards. Cards. C-A-R-D, not cars.
Yes.
And baseball cards and sports cards were never anything I ever got involved with as a kid. So I had... And I know people are, it's a big thing in trading and collecting. And
it's crazy now.
Even Gary V.
Yeah.
He's a big old baseball card fan. But I was blown away by some of the numbers you talked about what some of these cards are worth. So tell me, this is a whole underground world that I know nothing about.
Yes.
And I almost feel like, am I going to end up in the desert? Left for dead
with your little cards
for what you're telling
for
what you're telling me
with your little collection and being poor
because I know too much and I'm going to be killed out in the desert or something. Anyway,
no, it's not very secretive, but it is crazy that just where it's come from, where it started. It started as basically just like, hey, we're just throwing these baseball players and cigarette cards. I mean, you had the cigarette cards that they just packed them into cigarettes, and then people just collect them. This is like early 1900s.
And they put them into cigarette packs?
Yeah, that's how it started. So if you look up just like, I don't know, Cy Young and Honus Wagner, there's a famous Honus Wagner card. But if you look those up, then that's kind of where it started, is just like little cards. They would put them in cigarette packs, and they weren't really collectible, but people just kind of hang on to them. And then all of a sudden they're worth, well, some of them are worth millions now. But yeah, you can buy some in the thousands of dollars for 100-year-old cards. And then it kind of just died down. It wasn't really a thing until the 50s again. And then you have like Mickey Mantle and Topps started. Topps was, I don't remember what kind of company they were, but they're kind of one of the big producers of cards now. And then that kind of started back up in the 50s, and it kind of died, and then kind of was rejuvenated in like the early 90s. And we have what's called just like, they just mass produced cards and everyone was into it. Then it kind of died, and then it's kind of had like a resurgence in the last 5-10 years. And they've done quite a few cool things to make it more like collectible, more interesting. And so, yeah, we can talk about that, and we can get more into all the little nuances and all the cool things that are cool about sports cards.
So how long have you been involved in this underground world?
Yes, it's super secret underground. I think most kids, I'm almost 40, and a lot of kids my age, it's just like, oh yeah, you and your dad would buy cards, and they were just mass produced, and you just basically, like in the 90s, everyone kind of had cards. You just try and collect the set, and you'd put them in a binder, and then you'd throw it away, or not throw it away, but you'd throw it in the closet and forget about it. And that's kind of what everyone was doing. They were just trying to collect all the cards, and then they were mass produced, and there's still millions of them, and everyone's like, oh, anytime someone comes to me like, oh, I have these cards from the 80s, I'm like, yeah, they mass produced them. They're not worth anything. People just throw them away. There's so many of them. They're not really worth anything. Very few of them are worth anything. There's a few sets that are from the 80s that are kind of collectible, but almost all of it's just, if you have it, that's probably not worth anything.
So what makes a card so valuable? Is it its rarity? Like there's only 2 of them, or
yes,
so it's a volume thing. So if Walmart was doing it, they're gonna be nothing like the 80s. You say,
yeah.
Okay.
So basically what happened is, they just mass produced it. There was basically an unlimited amount. It was kind of like a print on demand. It's like, okay, well, we just need to stock the shelves, and so let's just print more. Where now is like on the back of these boxes, it shows the box I have, it doesn't. But on the pack of the cards, it's like, this is how much is produced. And so you know exactly. And then another thing they started to do, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, is they started serializing the numbers, the cards. And so you have your base set, and this is just like, it's kind of mass produced. This is just your generic 97% of the cards are just this base price, or the base card. But then you have different colors cards, and these different colors are serialized, meaning there's only a certain amount of these cards. And so I brought a couple here today to show you. So for example, this card, it's just the base card. There's nothing special about it. This is a player named Shohei Ohtani. He's a very popular baseball player right now.
California Angels, for those that can't see.
That's right. And so that's just the base card. There's nothing special about it. And then I have these other two cards they look like the exact same card, but they're different colors. And so there's different color variations, and you can kind of collect the different ones. And if you look at the back of one of them, there's a number on it. So the one that I showed you that's blue, it's numbered out of 50. So there's literally only 50 of these cards.
So this is almost like an artist who does a painting and put that.
You put a print,
100
you put a
out
number
of,
on it. Yep.
Okay.
And so in this set, this is from 2018. There's maybe 20 different versions of that card that are just numbered. So for example, the gold one is numbered out of 2018. The gold one is usually just, here's the year, and we'll make 2018 gold ones. And then here's the blue one. There's only 50 of the blue ones. And then here's, there's one with stars and stripes that it's kind of like the America one that's numbered out of 76. And so, for example, I don't know which number one I have.
This is 75 out of 76.
Yeah.
So if this was 1 out of 76, would it be worth a different amount?
Slightly. Some people like the one a little bit more, but no.
I got the first one.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone, that's the kind of cool thing. People collect different things. People collect what's called a rainbow, where they try and get a different color of all the cards. Some people try and collect a set of like all the blue ones or all the gold ones. And that's just kind of a good example of just like why people are more into it now. It's not just, everyone's getting the same card. It's like, oh, there's this version of the card and there's that version of the card. And then I think the coolest thing is I have this card. And this is a Formula One driver named Roman Grosjean. Not sure how to pronounce his name.
Grosjean.
It's a very nice, sparkly gold one.
So it's almost like got the metallic background.
Yeah. So flip that one around.
Okay. 1 of 1.
1 of 1. That is the only card of that card.
How do you know that?
Because there's only one. They only print the one.
Could they just print that and make you think that?
Well, they could. That would like ruin their company if there was.
All right. So what's a card like this worth?
So that guy's not very good. I paid $600 for that card. He's not in Formula One anymore. He's driving an IndyCar now, and that card is worth, I don't know, maybe $1,000.
Which is a lot of
it's
money
not nothing.
For one card.
And the cool thing about Formula One, for example, is there's only 20 drivers. So I have one of the 20 drivers.
Okay.
Now, with that first set, that's from a set in 2020, the first year Formula One came out. There's 20 drivers, and I actually have 7 of the 21 of ones. I've been collecting those. And going back to price, for one of the cards, I paid about $10,000 for one of the cards. And I had someone offer me, and this was like at the height of everything, and until you actually get money in hand, you don't know what they're really going to offer you. They just throw it out there. But someone offered me $200,000 for one of the cards.
And I think you told me this story, and you said no.
And I said no, because I was like, I don't need the money, and I think it's worth more. And so
you pay $10,000. Someone offered you $200,000 for it.
Yes, and I still think it's worth more. Now I don't think I can get $200,000 for it. I don't know if the market's there, but I think within the next couple of years, it could be worth a lot more. So that's kind of the cool thing about the cards now. It's all serialized. And another thing that is getting people really into cards too is you can get your cards graded, and it shows basically what you do is you send it off to a company. They'll look over the condition of the card, and then they'll put it in a case, and then the case has a number on it. The one I'm showing you has a 10 on it, so it's a 10 out of 10. It's in great condition, and that way it gives you a little bit more value. So for example, this base card of Ohtani, those are selling for like $30 right now. But if it was a 10 out of 10 by one of the grading companies, it's worth, maybe 200, maybe 150, So it dramatically increases the price to know that this is in a case and it's in great condition.
So can you send all your cards to a company like this and have them to pay them to rate them?
Yep. So people, their entire business is, you bring us your cards, we'll kind of clean them up and make sure there's no fingerprints on them, send them away. You pay $20-$30 to get it graded, and then comes back. And I mean, there's so many little businesses about card collecting, and this is just one that, people send millions and millions of dollars worth of cards and get them graded and get them in a case, it's a nice protective case that you can't tamper with, you can't open, and then it's just like, here's what it is. And
so now this case also has plastic wrap on it. Does that make it more?
No, that's just to protect the.
It's to
so the case doesn't get
plastic
scratched.
to protect the case,
to protect the thing.
card.
And there's people that sell little rubber cell phone looking bumpers to protect it even further. People go all crazy about this.
So that makes it seem more valuable. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right.
That's kind of the cool thing too. And here's just like when it's not graded, people call it raw. So it's just in the raw condition. And, there's some people that even, a lot of people would want them graded so exactly what it is, exactly the condition, exactly the value.
This is an F1 racer, George Russell?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this card, do you ever actually touch the actual card? Or are they always protected in some kind of thing?
Yeah. So
is it less valuable? More, it's got sweat on it. Is it more valuable?
Definitely less. Okay. If there's traceable amounts of sweat, it's probably worth
like
less.
Some teenagers or 40-year-old man's goo on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So people open up the cards, put them in these little plastic cases. They're called top loaders. You just load them in from the top, and it kind of protects it a little bit. And then the graded case, it's a very strong, sturdy case.
It's like an otter box for your cell phone.
Exactly. With a nice little number on it that shows you
10 out of 10.
Shows you the value.
So how this George Russell card in this fancy plastic case, what would this be worth?
So the raw condition is worth about, I don't know, $10, $15 right now. And the one that's graded is worth, I don't know, with that one, 60, 70. So it can dramatically increase the price just knowing it's a 10 out of 10. And if it was in like a 9 condition on that, it might be only worth like $20. So still a little bit more than the raw. But and it's kind of a gamble too. You have a card, you think it's in good condition, you send it away. They tell you what condition it's in, and then
so it's like the Antique Roadshow for cards.
Exactly. Yeah.
They tell you what it's.
Every day people are getting their cards back, and it's the Antique Roadshow. Like, oh, what did this grade for? There's a lot of fun in that. And then another cool thing about sports cards is this is kind of how I got back into it. I was just watching some videos on YouTube, and I came across this guy that was just like opening cards on YouTube. I'm like, oh, this is weird. He's just opening up cards. And then I started watching him, and he had some cool videos. He's like, oh, this is a good card. He's like kind of teaching everyone how it works. And this must have been like 2017, so about 6 years ago. And so he's like, if you guys want to buy into this, go to my eBay channel or go to my eBay page, and you can buy these cards. And so basically what he does, and a lot of people do this, it's called breaking, where you go onto eBay, or eBay or however they sell it, and it's like, okay, this guy's opening up 4 boxes of whatever card. Let's say he's opening up baseball, and you can go in and be like, okay, I want all the cards that are from the Angels or all the cards that are from the Dodgers. And so you pay, quite a bit less than it would cost to buy 4 boxes. And you get every card in that set from that team. And so you can buy multiple teams. And then he just opens them live, and then he just ships you the cards, and you get a watch. And
so it's like a digital live auction.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly. It's like, okay, great, I have this, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll just throw into and it was pretty cheap when I was doing it. Like, okay, I'll pay $10 for this team, or I'll pay $5 for this team that no one really wants, but it'll be fun. I can watch it, and then I'll get the cards in a week. And
then you'll turn around and sell them for more.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like 99% of the cards aren't worth what you pay for them, but you can sometimes break even, and you can sell them. There's quite a bit overall. If you open up a box that's worth $400, it's very, very likely that you'll get $200 worth of cards. Like, it's basically a lottery. You don't know what you're going to get.
Is it similar to like these pallet things that people buy a pallet of whatever of stuff and not knowing what's in it? I'm going to pay $1,000 for this pallet of stuff, and
it's just
here's
what
what's
it
in
is.
there. Or Storage Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It's It's a funner, cleaner, smaller, condensed version of that.
So it's just it's kind of about the experience, really. Then.
Yeah, it's the experience of the gambling. And so I also bought this box with you to show you too. This is where all the Formula One cards came out of. And when I found out that they were doing this must have been like 2019, early 2019. They're like, oh, we're going to start producing Formula One cards, and they hadn't done it before. And I guess they did in '92, but then again, it was just mass produced. And it's like, oh, they're going to start making these. And so I'm like, I love Formula One. I'm just going to put like a bunch of money into this. Worst case is I open them and I have fun. And so I ended up putting like $20,000, and I just bought 2 sets. I bought this one here, and then I bought another set that was really expensive. And I'm like, I'll just throw like $25,000 into this. And worst case, I'm like, I don't think they'll go down. Worst case is I'll just sell them for maybe a little bit more. I'll just kind of see what happens. And so one of the sets, basically they're very nice cards. They're all autographed. They're all numbered between 1 and 10. They're a very nice set. It's called Formula One Dynasty. And so I'm like, okay, great. I'll get those. And I'm like, I'm not going to open those because they're always going to hold some value. And that's the kind of thing too, is you can sell the boxes and you're like, I don't know what's in this. You don't know what's in this. You can gamble too. And some people just collect the unsealed boxes too. And so I ended up buying a set for about $10,000, and it was only 30 cards total for like $10,000. And I just held on to it, and then just the price kept going up and up and up. And there's only 3,000 cards total in that whole set. And so I have 30 of them. I have, what's that, like 1% or 0.1%? No, it's 1%. And so I ended up selling those boxes. I found some guy in Hawaii, and I sold those boxes. I paid $10,000 to. I ended up selling them for like $150,000 just for those boxes. And then we ended up opening one of them, and then he got a really, really nice card that's probably worth $70,000 just for that
just one card.
Yeah.
So he scored.
At the time, it was probably worth about $70,000, probably a little bit less now. But he was happy. I was happy. I was never going to open them, and I had a fun trip to Hawaii and met some cool people. And
yeah, because this like you don't just ship that. You hand deliver something.
You don't
like that.
ship $150,000 worth of cards. You hop on the plane and deliver them directly to them. And we kind of worked that out too. But for example, so this box here, there's only 72 cards total in this box. This is Formula One. It's just chrome. And 99% of the cards are worth $1, maybe. Maybe $2. There's some cards worth, I don't know. There's a few cards in there that are really nice that can be worth $5,000, $10,000. It's very unlikely that you'll get it, but the highest selling card in this box, now the best card in the set was the Lewis Hamilton, the 1 of 1. It ended up selling about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, for $900,000 just for the one card. So it's really fun. I mean, it is a big gamble, and that's kind of why everyone's so into the cards now, is because you can buy a box of cards and you could make millions of dollars. Probably not. You're probably just going to get, but it's still just a fun experience. It's a lottery where at the end of the day, at least you get some cards.
When you were telling me the story, or just now, about traveling to Hawaii,
yeah,
it reminds me of that scene in Toy Story. I think it's the second, which is the one where Al is faxing the pictures of the collection, and he's going to Japan. He's about ready to get on a plane. And he was like, it's like printing my own money.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
And I've gotten incredibly lucky. I've lost a lot of money too, trying to guess on, I think this will be worth a lot. And I got some cards graded that I got them back in 6 months. I'm like, these cards aren't even worth it. I'm not even going to open the box. I got them graded. I don't even care what's in it now because they're just not worth anything now. But I've gotten incredibly lucky with like the Formula One cards. And this Shohei Ohtani character, he just a couple of days ago signed the largest sports contract ever. So I got incredibly lucky there.
Is he with the Dodgers now?
He's with the Dodgers now.
I did see that. I don't follow sports, and I saw that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If you don't follow it and you heard of it, then he signed a $700 million contract.
Do you think do they do that just because of the press that they get? The ad revenue from the press they get makes it
that expensive?
Yes.
Well, I think with Ohtani's case, they just wanted to tie him up. I to be honest, I don't think any sports player is worth $700 million.
No.
But you're the Dodgers. They don't have a cap. They can spend. They're a big market team. Everyone loves the Dodgers, or they hate them, and that still brings them money. But they have a big salary that they can spend, and they're doing some interesting things with his contract. Where I don't know if this is true, but apparently he's only getting $2 million a year for 10 years, and his last year he's getting $680 million. kind of an interesting way to do a contract, but it I guess it benefits both of them. It allows them to pay $700 million in the future, and allows them to get them now for cheap, and you can get other players for cheap.
I wonder if they'll fire him on the 7th year or something.
That's the good thing with the contracts; they're guaranteed, so it's not something you can just get out of at the end. But
I remember getting. There was it was in packages of gum. There were cards in gum.
Yep.
When I was
that was a big thing in the 80s. And it's kind of funny too. People still have packs that aren't open from the 80s, and people open them up and they'll try the gum, and it doesn't taste well. It just kind of turns to gross chalky powder.
Yes.
But yeah, and that's funny too. And people will get that's the funny thing too, is people will open up a really old set with gum in it, and gum is stuck to a really nice card, and it's like,
ruins.
What a bummer.
And so, how much time do you spend on an average month?
Just looking at cards, doing cards, things.
It's like it's not a side hustle. That could be your full-time
job.
job.
And for many people this is. I have a couple friends that, I have a friend in North Dakota, all he does is just open up cards and ship the cards. He has a little card shop, but most of his money comes from just people watching his videos. He opens up the cards, people buy in to get their team and sends it out. That's his entire business. And then I have a couple of the friends that here's a plug for them. It's called Card Ladder. And this is anyone should go on there. It's free. There's a free service. You can just go on there and just kind of look at what the prices are. It's basically the stock market for cards. You can see the ups and downs of prices. It's called Card Ladder, and that's their whole business. Is they just develop that website and they just buy and track the sale of cards.
My son used to watch this British kid who, his name was Chris MD. Mm-hmm. Big. He was real famous for just playing soccer online.
Yeah.
And my son would watch him for hours.
Yeah.
Opening these digital packs.
Like card type
thing.
Like
and just wonder what players they get.
Yeah,
and I just remember he was addicted to it, watched it all the time. I said, son, are you going to actually play something, or are you just going to watch someone else do this and play? And he just watched, and he was fascinated by it. So there's some sort of hook that I don't pretend to understand.
There's a huge thing with video games, people watching other people play video games. I never thought that would be a thing. But
no, Fortnite, he didn't touch that. He watched people playing it for over a year.
Yeah.
Because he never wanted to get on and play because he didn't feel like it was good enough. I'm like, well, you're never going to be good enough unless you just do it.
Yeah.
And he finally started playing it, and then that was his addiction for a while. And now he's on to. Now it's another one called Rocket League, which is cars playing soccer.
Cars playing soccer, yeah.
Whoever
thought that would be
the graphics were phenomenal, but I'm like, what's the draw to this?
Yeah, that's a fun. Yeah, but with this, it's hard to say in a month because it varies, but I would say daily I spend 20, 30 minutes just looking up cards, and I kind of just buy everything that's cheap. If it's a $5 card that, probably won't be worth anything, but I have thousands of cards that are just sitting that, I got to get around to grading some of them. And, I'm in the phase where I'm going to start selling a lot more than I buy. I've only sold, altogether I probably spent 200,000 in cards, and I altogether probably made about 200,000. And so, but I think I have around, $400,000, $500,000 of cards left. They just need to get graded and sell. And, I also collect too. My whole goal with all of this was just to let me buy some cards and sell them for a little bit more, and then that'll pay for the cards that I want to keep. And so I have quite a few sets that I'm kind of still putting together. I actually collect. There's some sets that I want to keep forever. And one of the sets is, so for example, this George Russell card, there's a set where they're all green and they're all numbered to 99, and I want to get that full set. And, with the Ohtani cards, I've been collecting the gold cards that are they're numbered out of 2018. I've been trying to get all of those that I can. And so I'm up to over 200 of those. So I have about 10% of all the cards. I'll never get all of them, but I'm really trying to collect all the gold Ohtani cards that I can. So, and that's the cool thing too. You can collect however you want. You can buy sets. You can buy the same card of this. You can buy the different colored cards. You can buy all the players in a different color. And to be honest, there's a huge market of people that just collect the boxes. They just get boxes. They'll probably sell them in the future, but they'll just buy boxes. They'll never open them, and then maybe they'll sell them in the future.
I don't know what's in that box, but I got it.
Exactly. Well, it's just like, imagine buying a lottery ticket and you're like, I'm never going to scratch this. But if the big prize from this lottery ticket never hits, then there could be $1 million card in here.
And basically, you just watch the market and see things going up and down.
Yep.
It's just, it is.
And it's kind of like the stock market.
It's the stock market. It's just the card market.
It is. And it kind of all goes up together. It all goes down together. There's some stuff that's better than others. And the reason I really like Formula One is because, in other sports, you have football where, I don't know, 300, 400 new people come in the league, 300 people exit the league. Where Formula One, there's 20 drivers. Maybe 2 or 3 people will enter and 2 or 3 will leave. And so there's not a lot of turnover. It's just like, here's the 20 drivers and you can know everything about them. And there's only a race every couple of weeks. So it's not like a big commitment.
So it's just more rare. So that
it's
makes
more
the
rare.
value.
It's more, everyone knows every driver. And whereas other sports, there's people you've never even seen. And they're just like on the bench the whole time where, all of these guys race every week or every other week, and they're all in.
Well, I've never collected anything.
You never had the desire to collect?
No, it was just something. I just never.
Yeah.
I guess my mind was like, I don't want more stuff around. It's just cluttering my world. But
yeah,
I guess cards, they take up minimal space, so
yes.
you can have it all in a drawer.
Yeah.
Have a fortune in your drawer, in your underwear drawer.
Yeah. Exactly. I started sort of collecting old snowboards, and I'm like, this takes up too much space. I just moved. I'm never doing this again. I'm selling all my snowboards. I'm going to keep a couple from my childhood, but I'm not collecting snowboards anymore.
Yeah.
These cards, I have thousands and thousands of them. Fortunately, I have a house where I have an extra room that's just dedicated to my cards that they all sit in, but it's fun. It's fun to collect the sets. It's got fun to be like, oh yeah, I remember when I bought this. I remember what I bought it for. I remember the story behind this.
So it's just an experience.
It's
fun experience
just
for you.
A hobby.
It brings you joy.
Yeah. And if you don't want it to be a hobby, if you want to make money, you can make money in it too. There's so many avenues and so many fun things about it. Whereas, a lot of hobbies, it's just like, oh, you have to do it exactly this way. If you golf, you have to golf this way. This is just how you do it. And
yeah.
And I always thought that like, oh, there's a million ways to do this, and you just find what you like and just do it that way.
You and the Lego people, man, with your Lego rooms. That's about as much of a fortune as...
I've watched the Lego videos too, where they have very rare pieces that came in this set, and there's only these amount, and here's this Lego piece that's worth $200, and it doesn't look like anything, but people collect it. It's funny. I like Legos too. I don't collect them, but I do follow everything collectible, and Legos are fun too.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share about this world that I haven't asked you?
No, not that I can think of. That's kind of the big things is you have the cards, you have the boxes, you have breaks where you can watch videos. I highly encourage anyone to just go look up, baseball card break. Just watch one of the videos. They open it, they go through, they kind of teach you about how a few things work. I highly recommend going on to Card Ladder. You can just kind of surf there and just see like, oh wow, this is this card. Here's an autographed card, and in this thick card, there's a piece of the player's jersey. There's so many cool different kinds of cards. You can get really into old vintage stuff. Like there's cards from the 1900s, the very old baseball players. One of the most expensive cards, or probably the most expensive card, is the Mickey Mantle. I think it's 1952. I don't really follow it, but it's graded a 10 out of 10, a card from the 50s, and I think there's 2 or 3 of them, and there's 2 guys that just will never sell them, and I think one was recently sold for like $10 million. So
for a card,
but
it's art
for a piece of cardboard with a man that played baseball on it.
Yeah, with a guy that threw a ball around.
Yeah,
but
it's what people want.
It's,
no,
I get it.
There, and I highly recommend everyone just go to Target, buy a pack of cards. It's fun. Spend $5 on a pack of cards and
just to
find a sport you like and look at the back to see if any of them are numbered. And this may have been your first hit of a drug you didn't want to get into, but
this is the freaking golden,
yes,
the golden ticket.
Yeah,
the Willy Wonka.
And then there's also, people collect like Pokemon cards. That's kind of huge, kind of a little bit for more younger people. But there's $100,000 Pokemon cards. There's recently Magic the Gathering. It's kind of a card game. I never really got into it, but they did like a thing with Lord of the Rings where they made like Lord of the Rings Magic cards, and of course the greatest thing in Lord of the Rings would be the ring, and so they had a card There was just the ring. There was only one of them. Some guy in Canada ended up finding it. And I would highly recommend looking up the story. He ended up selling the card to Post Malone for like $2.5 million. So he's the one that bought it. It's a great story. Look up that. That's what makes this stuff fun is just the stories like that. Some guy finds a card, meets Post Malone. Post Malone wants the card. Here's like $2 million or whatever it was.
That's crazy. So wild.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
I could go on for hours just talking about the little dumb stories and
no, they're not dumb stories. They're
interesting things about.
It's to me, I'm like, what an absolute waste of time.
Yeah.
But for someone else who like you love this. It's fun.
Yeah.
That's what life's about.
It's having
fun. It's hobbying. Like me doing this podcast. I love it. It's fun.
Sure.
Someone else will be like, my wife's like, you get energized by talking to people? Oh,
yeah.
Geez. I want to
Sounds
blow
like
my brains out. Yeah.
Sounds like
it's
a punishment.
Different. Yeah.
And
to talk to
the
people.
cool thing about this too is like, you know, I have very expensive George Russell cards where I probably wouldn't even be a fan of his. There's nothing like that. But if he does well in a race, my cards go up in value. So that's who I'm rooting for. You know, it's just another thing. It's kind of like if you're betting on sports, it's just like, well, why don't you buy these cards? And if the player does well, then, you know, with my Ohtani cards, he's doing amazing right now. He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And so now I'm really rooting for him. And, you know, it makes sports even more fun too.
Maybe you could turn it upside down where the players that sucked the most, all of a sudden those cards could become the most valuable.
Yeah.
There's a way you could twist that to, like, I have all the losers and
oh yeah. There's a crazy story like that. Like there's a card from 1986. It was always like, I don't remember the whole story, but it was always on the back of the pack. And so you could never get a good condition of this card. And so there's only like 80 of these cards. He's a no-name player. No one's ever heard of him other than his mom. And the card is worth like thousands and thousands of dollars because it's so hard to get it in a good condition. And so his name is Mickey something from the 1986 Fleer basketball set. And I don't even remember, but it's just like, there's just so many weird like nuances about that. It's just like, you know, he wasn't a good player, but his card was hard to get. And then there's another quick story. There's, what's his name? Honus Wagner. Back in the early 1900s, he didn't want to be affiliated with the smoking company, so they made a bunch of his cars, but then they ended up throwing them all away because he didn't want to be a part of it. A few of them got out. Wayne Gretzky ended up buying one like 20 years ago, got it graded, and now that card's worth like millions of dollars just because, you know, he was a decent player. He wasn't bad, but he didn't want to be affiliated with cigarettes. There's very few of his cards, and it's worth millions of dollars just because that whole story. Wayne Gretzky got heavily involved in it, and
whoever touches it,
yes,
adds value to it.
Exactly.
or devalues it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a story years ago. I kind of worked part-time for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
This was back in like 97, 98. They had a player on the team. His last name is Wolf. I don't remember his first name. And he was just an average white basketball player.
Yeah.
And rarely played, but he had this fans. There was about 10 fans at every game that just loved him, and they would
like the mascot.
They would paint his name on their bellies, and they were dedicated to making, you know, having fun with him.
Yeah,
and it was the greatest thing I ever saw.
Yeah.
I don't remember some of
if he had
the top players back then. I don't remember them,
yeah,
but I remember him because of
the cult following around the bench player.
Yeah, that was wild. So
that's fun.
All right, Quintin. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on and sharing the story.
Absolutely. We'll follow up in a couple years and see where the market is then. Let's do it.
When you're the king of the universe.
I don't know if I'll get there, but I'm having fun getting there.
Okay.
Thank you again for listening to The Parish the Thought Show. We know you have many podcast options and appreciate that you have chosen us. If you love what you hear, please give us a rating on whatever platform you find us. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. If you hate what you hear, only tell us. You're still here? Click on the next episode for more from The Parish the Thought Show.